Imagine an ordinary Korean restaurant in the middle of Toronto. No massive stage. No concert lights. No thousands of army waiting outside a venue. Just a table, warm food, and a few people quietly enjoying their time. But then, someone very familiar appeared. Jimin. And within hours, what seemed like an ordinary moment in Toronto suddenly became a topic of conversation among BTS fans around the world. But wait. If Jimin really was there, why did another story begin circulating that other BTS members were also spotted at the very same restaurant, seemingly arriving at different times? Was it simply a coincidence? Or was there a reason several BTS members chose the same place while preparing for their Toronto concert? That small detail was enough to make ARMY stop, zoom in on photos, examine every detail, and ask one very simple question. What exactly was happening in Toronto? Hello ARMY and welcome back to the channel. Today, we are talking about a moment that may look completely ordinary at first glance. But once the details are examined one by one, the story becomes much more intriguing. A fan post circulating online reportedly showed Jimin at a Korean restaurant in Toronto. According to the post, Jimin had stopped by the restaurant to enjoy some food ahead of BTS's concert activities in the city. And what makes the story even more interesting is the claim that Jimin may not have been the only BTS member connected to that location. Another member was reportedly seen there as well. And according to the fans' account, the members did not arrive together. Instead, they allegedly appeared separately, at different times. And strangely enough, that is exactly what made fans even more curious. Were they simply following different schedules? Did they happen to choose the same restaurant independently? Or had the restaurant somehow become a recommended spot among the members while they were in Toronto? Before we go any further, there is one important point we need to make clear. The information about Jimin and the other members being at the restaurant comes from circulating fan reports. It should not automatically be treated as an official confirmation from Bigot Music or BTS. So we should separate what fans reportedly observed from what has been officially confirmed. But even with that distinction, there are several fascinating details worth looking at. And one of the biggest is the timing. Toronto is not simply another stop on the map for BTS. BTS is scheduled to perform at Rogers Stadium in Toronto on August 22nd and 23rd, 2026, as part of the BTS World Tour Arirang. The dates have been listed through ticketing and concert promotion platforms. That means when reports about Jimin appearing at a restaurant in Toronto began circulating, it was almost inevitable that ARMY would pay attention. Because for fans, the days surrounding a major concert are not only about what happens on stage. They are also about the little moments that reveal the human side of the members. And perhaps that is exactly why this particular moment feels so special. Jimin was reportedly seen somewhere far removed from the atmosphere of a concert. He was not performing. He was not standing under stage lights. He was not giving an interview. He was simply enjoying a meal. And for many ARMY, those ordinary moments can feel surprisingly intimate. For years, fans have seen Jimin in countless situations. On stage. In interviews. During photo shoots. On television. And of course alongside the other BTS members. But when a global superstar is suddenly seen doing something as simple as eating at a restaurant, the atmosphere feels completely different. For a few minutes, Jimin does not feel like someone performing in front of tens of thousands of people. He simply feels like Park Jimin, enjoying a quiet moment in Toronto. And then came another detail that made the story even more interesting. According to the circulating fan account, Jimin reportedly enjoyed dishes such as jjajangmyeon and tangsuyuk at the restaurant. To some people, that may sound like a very small detail. But for ARMY, small details can become very meaningful. Food. A restaurant. A table. A city. A particular day. Even something as simple as who may have sat nearby can suddenly become part of a much bigger story. And when another BTS member's name began appearing in the same conversation, the puzzle became even more interesting. The fan post claimed that after Jimin and Jin were reportedly seen at the location, RM was then seen entering and sitting at the same table. Again, this is based on a circulating fan report and should not be presented as an official confirmation. But if we look at the situation from a simple human perspective, there is something undeniably warm about the possibility. The members were in the same city. They were preparing for a major performance. And somewhere between their busy schedules, they may have found time to enjoy food at the same place. And isn't that exactly the kind of small moment that has always made BTS's relationship feel so special to ARMY? BTS is not known only for their music. They are also known for the unique dynamic between the 7 members. The laughter, the teasing, the inside jokes, the moments when one member looks for another, the times when they simply sit together without needing to do anything spectacular. That is why this restaurant story from Toronto has attracted so much attention. It is not simply because Jimin was reportedly seen there. It is because the possibility of several BTS members appearing at the same location during such an important period gives fans a feeling they have deeply missed. Togetherness. After years filled with individual schedules, different projects, and different responsibilities, seeing multiple BTS members connected to the same story naturally creates a different kind of emotion. But there is still one question that has not been answered. If several members really did visit the restaurant, why didn't they arrive together? Were they simply following separate schedules? Were they meeting at different times? Did they independently choose the same restaurant? Or had someone recommended the place to the others? And this is where the story becomes even more interesting. Because the restaurant mentioned in the circulating fan post is not fictional. JIMIN is an actual Korean restaurant in Toronto, known for dishes including jjajangmyeon and other Korean Chinese specialties. So when a fan account connected the location with several BTS members, it was understandable that ARMY would begin paying closer attention. But again, we need to pause here. There is a difference between saying that fans reported seeing someone and saying that an agency officially confirmed someone's presence. Those are two completely different things. That distinction matters. Because when it comes to BTS, even a single photo or short video can spread incredibly quickly. One post can be reposted thousands of times. One caption can be translated into multiple languages. And before long, a simple observation can become a much bigger rumor. That is why we should enjoy the moment while remaining careful about what we actually know. And perhaps that is what makes this story so fascinating. There does not need to be a dramatic secret. There does not need to be a hidden announcement. There does not need to be a major revelation. Sometimes a simple moment is enough. Jimin eating at a restaurant in Toronto. Another member reportedly appearing later. And fans wondering whether the appearances were connected. That alone can create an emotional reaction. Because ARMY has followed BTS for so many years. Fans watch the members grow together. They watched BTS perform on increasingly larger stages. They witnessed the group move from smaller venues to becoming one of the biggest names in global music. They experienced periods when the members were together constantly. And they also experienced periods when each member had individual activities and responsibilities. So when the members appear in the same city again, small moments of togetherness can feel surprisingly meaningful. Maybe that is why this particular story has captured so much attention. It is not necessarily about something extraordinary happening. It is about seeing familiar faces in an ordinary setting. A restaurant. A meal. A quiet afternoon or evening. A few members potentially crossing paths. And perhaps for a moment, the enormous world surrounding BTS disappears. There is no pressure from the stage. No coreography. No cameras. No performance. Just 7 people who have spent years building memories together. And then there is another question that fans began asking. Where was Yoongi? In the fan post circulating online, There was a question about whether other members had also been seen. Yoongi's name, in particular, became part of the curiosity because he was not mentioned in the same sequence of sightings. But the absence of a name in a fan report does not mean anything happened. It could simply mean that nobody saw him. He could have been somewhere else. He could have been resting. He could have been following a completely different schedule. Or there may simply have been no public sighting. And that is an important reminder. When we do not have information, we should not automatically fill the silence with assumptions. Yet in a fandom as passionate as BTS's, unanswered questions naturally create curiosity. And perhaps that is exactly what happened here. One photograph. One restaurant. One fan account. And suddenly, ARMY was asking questions. Was Jimin there? Were Jin and RM there too? Did they actually sit at the same table? Did they arrive separately? And why did several members reportedly choose the same location? There is also something else worth considering. The timing of these reports comes just before BTS's Toronto performances. And that context makes the moment feel even more meaningful. Before a major concert, artists have to prepare physically and mentally. There are rehearsals, schedules, travel, meetings, sound checks, rest, and countless details that fans never get to see. So when a member finds time to enjoy a familiar meal, it can be a reminder that behind the enormous global production, there are still ordinary human routines. Perhaps Jimin simply wanted a comforting Korean meal. Perhaps another member had the same idea. Perhaps someone recommended the restaurant. Or perhaps it really was nothing more than coincidence. We simply do not know yet. And that is why this story should be approached with curiosity, not certainty. Because sometimes the most interesting part of a story is not the answer. It is the question that remains unanswered. And for this Toronto moment, the question is no longer simply, was Jimin at the restaurant? The bigger question is, who else was there? And if the members really did appear one after another, was that truly just coincidence? Or was there a reason they kept ending up at the same place? That is where the story becomes even more intriguing. Because if one member appeared, and then another, perhaps this Toronto restaurant moment is not quite as random as it first seemed. But there is one thing we should never forget. The members deserve privacy. Being seen in public does not mean every detail of their personal lives belongs to the public. As fans, we can appreciate a sweet moment without turning it into something more than it actually is. And perhaps that is the most beautiful way to look at this story. Not as a scandal. Not as a mystery that must be solved at all costs. But as a small glimpse into the days surrounding an important BTS chapter. A moment when Jimin was reportedly enjoying food in Toronto. A moment when other members were reportedly seen at the same location. And a moment that reminded ARMY how powerful even the smallest glimpse of BTS together can be. Because after everything these 7 members have experienced together, their simple moments can carry enormous emotional weight. For an ARMY who has been waiting for a long time, seeing Jimin simply sitting down and enjoying a meal may be enough to bring a smile. And perhaps that is why this story feels so warm. It reminds us that behind the lights, the music, the sold-out stadiums, and the global attention, there are still ordinary moments. Moments of eating. Moments of resting. Moments of laughing. Moments of simply being together.